Well, hello all. Here we are today. We're going to be discussing with Professor Erik De Haan all about Masterclass 1, which is understanding our clients. So I'll let Erik introduce it more formally. So Erik, great to be speaking to you about this joint masterclass with the Association for Coaching. So tell me first off, what is Masterclass 1 all about from your perspective?
It's about leadership. Which is a very, very big theme, obviously, a theme we share with most animals. They have very subtle pecking orders, they have empathy for each other, they work through altruism and protection of their flaws to stay on top of some kind of pecking order. And we also experience leadership from the very first moment we are born, 24/7 integration with our leaders, our mothers, for most of us. And so it's a fascinating topic, and it's very important to the business world, to organizations and everywhere. And it's not very well understood, I think partly because it's like the air we breathe. So it's like the time we live in, but who understands time as and of itself? Same is a little bit true with leadership. So it's of course the profession of our clients as executive coaches. So it's what they would like to do well, or what they are paid for, sometimes paid very well for, and still it's very badly understood. So I think there's a job here for coaches to help with that profession, help be a good leader, as most people would want to be.
And what do you see as sort of the changing context within which leadership plays out?
Yes, well, of course, in the modern world, there are reasons to be really, really optimistic, as well as and mature and proud, as well as reasons to be very, very pessimistic and fearful. So, for example, we are really. People are being lifted out of poverty in very, very high rates. Although we have very cruel wars, we also have very vast parts of the world where we do no longer have wars, where we used to have them every 5 years or so. And so there is reason for optimism, I think, but there's also obviously reason for pessimism. And it's a very fast changing world, especially with the climate. It seems to be very alarming and almost irreversible. Scientists tell us. So reasons to be very fearful about that.
Yeah.
Very pessimistic. And I think for leaders, there is a fast increasing complexity in this world. So due to all the developments in technology and IT, the globalization, the very fast tendency of new organizations, and then their disappearance as well. Within 15 years, you can have the biggest corporations on earth rise and fall and die. So people have to change jobs for that, move into new organizations. And there's one other thing that's very relevant for modern leaders, I think, and it's to do with transparency, to do with the constant supervision they're getting, scrutiny on what they're doing. And it's hardly possible anymore to hide leadership decisions from the general public even, let alone employees from the same company, the press, the shareholders. Everybody needs to know, and there's more and more supervisory regulations that go deeper and deeper into leadership. And that's hard to live like we are in this interview, we're being filmed, we live in a glass cage, as it were. We can no longer, play our little leadership games in secret, I think, in the 21st century.
Well, I think this is a pretty beautiful glass cage that we're in here at Asherchaps, so that's great. And I think what's really fascinating about that, Erik, is the context in which leaders are working is changing, and therefore, and because of the economic and the wider challenges that we face in the world, the nature of coaching changes, and what a leadership and an executive coach needs to bring to support their clients change. Yes. As well. So what are some of the questions that you're going to take people on, the journey that you're going to take people on? What are some of the big questions you're going to be asking in Masterclass 1?
Well, it's hard to say in just a minute for this video, of course, but I think what that means is that leaders will have to well, firstly, understand leadership and understand, for example, the difference between successful leaders and effective leaders. It's not the same. It's not the same being successful in leadership or being effective as a leader. So there's a big difference between that, big gap. That's one thing. But also, I think in this fast-moving, complex and transparent world, we need to bring more and more of ourselves to the job. More and more of our emotionality, of our intuition, of our hunches, maybe our bodily experiencing. That needs to come out more. We need to self-understand more and use that in conversation in order to be effective as a leader. I think there's a direct link between all those modern stresses on leaders and changes, and what you then need to bring to the workplace more and more.
So it sounds like whole person-centric sort of ideology
Yes.
and philosophy
Yes.
behind that.
Yes. And our thinking, our cognitive work, our manual work can increasingly be replaced by computers even, and robots. So even from that angle, you can see that what will remain is the more creative part of being human. And the more human part, the more emotional, vulnerable part of being human. That will be needed, I think, or be asked for, or be put under pressure for leaders.
Yeah, I think human imagination is going to be very difficult for AI to copy. But
Yes,
maybe that will happen over the next 100 years. But I think that's one of the differentiators.
Yes.
So, sort of taking it to Masterclass 1, so thinking about the learning outcomes that we're looking, and the journey that we're going to take the coaches on, and you're going to take the coaches on, what are some of those learning journeys that you're hoping to explore with the coaches?
Yeah. So with the coaches, I'd like to look at, so what does that mean for us? What do we need to offer more? What do we need to understand more? Even though we won't all have a full psychology degree or a psychotherapeutic qualification, and I don't have a psychology degree, but we still have to be open to working with emotions. I think everyone agrees with that, and maybe need to refer or to work at different frequencies when it comes to those challenges of leaders. And I'd like to look into that a lot, but also I'd like to look at understanding of leadership as a profession, so that we know what our clients are trying to do and how they very often fail or get corrupted by leadership. It's a famous corrupting profession as well. So we're going to look at that.
Yeah.
Personality derailers, maybe,
Right.
things like that. Yeah.
So if I sort of summarise, what I'm hearing is this is a programme that is designed for people that are really fascinated with how they can help leaders to be more effective and maybe successful in the changing context. So it's aimed at people that are really interested in sort of taking their professional journey towards mastery in that space. Is that right? Have I got that context right?
Yes, that's what we'll hope to do. We only have a day, we only have a minute now, but we'll give a summary of, for example, successful leaders, they are being pointed by the people above them. Whereas effective leaders, good leaders, they are being felt and appreciated by the people below them. So there's a very big difference in perspective on that. And we'll look into that, what that means for leadership.
Fantastic. And the style that we're going to be using on this programme is you're going to be introducing some of the ideas that you've got from academia, the research and your own practitioner experience, and then offering up questions to explore it and having real collaborative conversations with people, if I've understood that correctly.
Yes, it will be very interactive where people can, if we will talk about personality derailers, for example, I'd like the people in the workshop, the participants, to study their own personality in a safe way, maybe with one other person or two other people, in a safe small group, with the help of some models of personality, to learn something new about how they might derail. Because we can, as coaches, derail just as easily as leaders, of course.
Lest we forget that. So, Erik, thank you very much for the discussion. So, hopefully, you'll be able to join us with Masterclass 1. I think it's going to be a wonderful experience. You're going to be guided by somebody who I consider to be an absolute masterful coach himself, but a wonderful academic and human being as well. So, I think you'll really enjoy it, and I personally look forward to the programme.
Thank you, Dave.
There we go.